Hey movie fans, so a while ago I gave you my top 7 names of actors that I think could pull off a convincing Nightwing in James Gunn's new DC universe. You guys seem to really enjoy that video, so let's potentially make that a whole series of looking at actors that could play specific roles in this new DC universe. Kicking us off, I'm gonna go with one of my favorite and most underrated characters that I hope to see at some point in this new DC universe, Green Arrow, the Oliver Queen Green Arrow. I love this character so much. Even before the Arrow days, I grew up reading Robin Hood incessantly. I read that so much. Robin Hood is one of my favorite characters. And Green Arrow is essentially Robin Hood. He gets a lot of his inspiration from that, but it's not just that. I think the character of Oliver Queen is so fun and entertaining. He's also such a versatile character of where the character started versus where the character is now. He's come a long way from, ironically enough, the clean-shaven look of the early days of the comics to the iconic goatee, which, yes, will 100% be a metric for our casting choices today. Can the actors on our list today pull off facial hair, or can they even grow facial hair? Because I know he's been clean-shaven, but at this point, Oliver Queen needs a goatee. So today, I'm gonna give you my top 7 picks for who I think would be great Green Arrows in the DC universe. But the thing is, we don't know that much about what Green Arrow would potentially look like in terms of age, what type of Green Arrow we're going for. So I'm gonna be going with a bunch of various options of ages, personality types, just because the characters changed a whole lot over the years. We don't know what specific version, whether we're going for an older Green Arrow because Hal Jordan is older in the Lantern show, and a lot of times Oliver and Hal are really good friends. They had that long comic run together. So are they going to be about the same age, or is he going to be younger, leaning more towards Superman's age? I don't know. Is he going to be a family man? I don't know. So we're going to have a bunch of different options. But before we get into it, I want to hear from you guys. What are your top picks for who you think would be a great Green Arrow in the new DC universe? So without further ado, kicking us off at number 7, I have a name that actually gets thrown around a ton for somebody else in the DC universe, like a ton. But I actually think, yes, he would be good for that one specific role, but I also think he'd be great for another role in Green Arrow, and that is Lucas Till. I have seen so many people fan cast Lucas Till for a Barry Allen Flash, and looking at him on paper, I'm going, yeah, I can absolutely see that. I respect that, but I also can absolutely see him as a Green Arrow. Yes, he can pull off facial hair, and I did do that check. And he's kind of been one of those under the radar names for a while there that, not to be mean or anything, but he can kind of be one of the cheaper and underrated options out there. Like David Cornsweet wasn't a big name when he got cast as Superman. You can kind of do the same thing with Lucas Till. Now granted, he does have some superhero experience. He was in X-Men First Class, but he's not like the big household name. He was on like the rebooted version of MacGyver. What's also funny though is when I was making this list and I was doing my research and everything, I was running over the list with my wife, kind of getting her thoughts and feedback, and I get to Lucas Till and I was just like, yeah, he's a popular fan cast for the Flash, but I think he'd be a good Green Arrow. And she goes, he's also known for being in the Hannah Montana movie. So like, yes, make of that what you will. So he's been around for a while, but also kind of one of those under the radar names. He's not my top choice. That's why he's in my number 7, but I think he could pull off a good Green Arrow. The personality type that I think he would be is more of like the fun Oliver, not the stoic and serious, which at the end of the day, that's the version that I want. I liked Arrow when it first started, but holy crap, the back end really lost me. I want more lighthearted, fun, quippy, flirty, family man Green Arrow, more so than stoic and serious loner. Like, we've gotten too much of that. Let Green Arrow be fun. Let him be the political guy. Let him be the outspoken, kind of jerkish character. And I just really wanted to see that at some point, and I think Lucas Till could embody that pretty well. Next up at number 6 is one that I actually do see as a popular fan cast for Green Arrow, and I'm not gonna lie, I can totally see it, and that is Garrett Hedland, the guy from Tron Legacy and that Pan movie that you totally forgot about until I just now brought it back up. But Garrett Hedland is one of those guys that I feel like could have been a bigger name had he been attached to better projects, kind of like a Taylor Kitsch situation, almost exactly like Taylor Kitsch, of not being in the best of movies and then finding second life and kind of rebuilding your brand with good TV performances. The thing is, I don't mind Tron Legacy, but its legacy isn't like the most esteemed. Like, it's got a really loyal cult following, but if that movie was a bigger deal, I think he would have been a bigger name actor. He's got tons of personality, he's got tons of charm, but he's not necessarily the most dynamic. I think Garrett Hedland would be more of the stoic and serious version of Green Arrow if we went with him. Yeah, I think people kind of based this fan casting solely off the facial hair, and I do not blame them in the slightest. That is on point for this guy, but he's kind of been turning it around as a serious and stoic actor lately. He's been on that Sylvester Stallone show, Tulsa Kings. I've heard great things about him on that. I can really see it. I don't know if he'd be the more fun, lighthearted. I haven't seen him in many more comedic performances and make me think he can embody that aspect of Oliver Queen. But like I said, if we're going for a different side of the character and we're going with this more stoic and serious, almost quasi-Batman, like what they did in Arrow, which wasn't always the biggest fan of, but if that's the direction that they choose to go with, I could totally see Garrett Hedlund going with a Green Arrow. Plus, I think he's talked about wanting to do it. There's certain people on this list that have openly talked about wanting to do it, and there's one name in particular, let's just come out and say it. Charlie Hunnam is not on this list because he's openly talked about not wanting to do it. I know so many people want Charlie Hunnam as Green Arrow. He's not on this list because, one, I think he's aged out of it no matter what age we're talking about here. Well, though there's one person on this list that we're going to talk about that is significantly older, but we'll talk about that. But two, Charlie Hunnam has also openly expressed not wanting to do Green Arrow, so let's leave the man alone and do other things. So, circling back to Garrett Hedlund, I think he could be a good option, a fun option, but not necessarily like the top choice. He'd be the more stoic and serious Green Arrow, but not the one that I'm betting the horse on, if that makes sense. Next up, at number 5, we have what I'm going to call the wild card pick of it could work. I could see the potential here, and that is Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens has been one of those quietly reliable guys in the industry for quite a while now. I think the first time I saw him, or better yet, heard him in anything, was the Beauty and the Beast remake from, 2017? But since then, he's been doing a steady stream of mostly like horror and indie projects that he's been absolutely crushing it in. Like, I believe, The Guest? I think that was him. Or other big horror projects. The biggest high profile thing that he's done recently was Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, which admittedly I didn't think was as good as the first Godzilla vs. Kong, but it's just mashing your action figures together. And if that's not kind of what comic book movies can be at times, and again, I'm all for that. I want mashing action figures together in comic book movies again. I want fun. Let's just embrace the fun. He was a cartoonishly goofy character in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, and I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. His pedigree in the horror realm proves to me that he can be a great actor. Again, if you want good actors, just dive into the horror pool. I know that often gets disregarded in terms of a genre, but you can find some serious gems acting-wise in the horror genre, and I think Dan Stevens has been perfecting his craft as an underrated actor in low-budget stuff, and I think he's poised to break out into big-name stuff in the not-too-distant future. Plus, he can grow that facial hair. It's not quite the Green Arrow in Godzilla x Kong, but it's close enough that I'm like, okay, I could see the vision here. Again, not my top choice, but he's got the personality, he's got the charisma that I can totally go, okay, I would not mind him being a Green Arrow going forward. Next up, at number 4 is, I'll admit, the one pick that I know makes absolutely no sense. It's too far out there. He is absolutely aged out of it. I bemoan Charlie Hunnam being too old for the role now, but I keep this guy on the list, but I don't care because I cannot let go of the idea of Ewan McGregor as Green Arrow. Yes, he is too old for this now. And also, yes, he has already been in the DC universe when he played Black Mask and Birds of Prey. But again, no one really saw that movie because it was right before the thing that happened in 2020. And also, it was fine. It wasn't the worst movie, but it wasn't the best either. But I don't think James Gunn would be beholden to that previous universe's continuity. I have wanted to see him as Green Arrow for the longest time, ever since I saw a specific movie that is not particularly good, but it's for some reason locked into my core memories, Jack the Giant Slayer, starring our now Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult. Oh, look at that little baby face there. He is just having the time of his life in this movie. It is not a great movie, but after all those years of watching him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, my favorite Star Wars character of all time besides, Luke, I really enjoyed him in Jack the Giant Slayer, and also just looking at him going, oh, I see the vision. I see it. But the thing is, he is on the older side. He could still fit if we're going for that he's buddies with the Kyle Chandler version of Hal Jordan, of the older Green Lantern. So I don't feel necessarily that bad including him on this list, but is he on this list just because I love Ewan McGregor and that goatee and Jack the Giant Slayer is kind of selling me? There's about a 90% chance, yeah. But I also think he's a talented enough actor and a charismatic enough actor that you can buy it. Next up, at number 3, we're now really getting into the nitty-gritty, the names that I actually see as potential candidates for Green Arrow in the new DC universe, and all of them are on the younger-ish side, but not nearly as old as the Ewan McGregor. I know that's the out of left field pick. But at number 3, I have Kyle Gallner, who again, like Dan Stevens, has kind of built his brand and his recognition of late in the horror world and has kind of been crushing it lately. The first time I really kind of noticed of going, oh, this guy has something special acting wise was Smile, which, oh gosh, that movie messed me up the first time. I love horror. But it had been a while since something genuinely terrified me like the first Smile did. That movie, oh boy. But it wasn't until much, much later that I realized, holy crap, I have already seen Kyle Gallner in stuff before Smile. I love Smallville. There's a whole big old video on the channel about Smallville and how great it is. But Kyle Gallner was actually on Smallville as the Flash, as Bart Allen's version of the Flash, but they for some reason didn't have the legal vernacular or the rights to use Flash, so they call him Impulse, the Bart Allen Impulse, and he was a lot of fun in that. So he's no stranger to the world of DC. Over the past few years, there's been a pretty decent chance that if Kyle Gallner's in something, he's pretty good in it. He's one of those really underrated, I feel like he's about to break out at any moment type actors. Plus, he kind of feels like he's been lobbying for the role. There's all these videos you can find online of him practicing archery. Dude seems pretty keen on wanting to be Green Arrow. Also, he's one of those people that people have actually asked him about playing Green Arrow, and he's like, oh, I would totally do it. I think he's really keen on playing it. I could see James Gunn wanting to do it. And also, on a more personal note, when I was doing research for this video, pop up in Google, I see Kyle Gallner is from Westchester, Pennsylvania, where I'm originally from. I'm now rooting for this guy more than anybody else, just for that hometown pride. And on the goatee front, I don't think besides Smallville I've ever seen him without this goatee lately. So yeah, it just makes all the sense in the world. That's just perfect right there. That just looked Green Arrow-ish to me. At number 2, and on the flip side, somebody that I've only really seen for mostly comedic roles at this point, nothing more serious, but I think still has a ton of potential, is Billy Magnussen. Now, he's one of those guys that's kind of been a bit part player in a lot of Disney things lately. He was the doofy prince in the 2019 Aladdin remake. He was Pleakley in the new Lilo and Stitch. But more importantly, there is a movie that y'all need to see because it's still vastly underrated called Game Night. And he is so wickedly funny in that. He's got this charm and personality and kind of himbo dumb energy that I could kind of see for Green Arrow of heart's in the right place, but kind of an idiot. But it wasn't until recently that I was like, okay, I could see you as more than just the funny guy. He was in Daniel Craig's final James Bond movie, No Time to Die, and kind of a, not gonna give full spoilers away, but not his usual character. And I was going, okay, you're branching out here. And the actor has also openly expressed wanting to do different things besides just the straight up comedy. He excels at that. I could see him wanting to do more serious, not necessarily hardcore or grimdark, but getting away from the full-on comedic and trying a more well-rounded character and just looking at him, and yes, he can grow the facial hair, I can absolutely see him being a good Green Arrow. Not to jump the gun or anything, but eventually we're going to do 7 actors that can play Booster Gold, and there's a pretty decent chance that he'll also be on that list as well, because dude has serious Booster Gold energy. Look at his role in Into the Woods, for crying out loud. I think he's got that personality, got that charisma that I think could work really, really well for a Green Arrow. I just need to see more stuff outside of the comedic realm to know if he can get the full picture of Oliver Queen, if that makes sense. Which leaves our number one pick, which I'm seeing is kind of becoming the number one pick across the internet. For a while there was Charlie Hunnam, but now I feel like the general thought and sentiment has shifted towards this person instead, and I'm totally on board with that, and I'm totally on board with Alexander Ludwig. I think the first time I ever saw him in anything was Hunger Games. Like, a lot of people were introduced to him via Hunger Games, but then he got a lot of praise and notoriety for a show called Vikings. Never saw Vikings. I know some of you out there saw it, and I'm sure he was great in that, but there was actually something else that I saw him in that I'm going, oh, I absolutely see the vision. And it's not something I see enough people talk about when regards to Alexander Ludwig playing Green Arrow. So many people talk about Stephen Amell in the Arrowverse. Me personally, I think he was just okay. I don't think he was the most accurate version of Green Arrow. Also, the whole refusal to have a goatee thing always irked me, and he never seemed to want to embrace the fun side of Oliver Queen. But all that aside, Stephen Amell was on a show called Heels, in which case he basically plays a wrestler slash promoter slash owner of a small town family run wrestling organization. And his brother is like the hotshot babyface good guy that kind of gets turned into a bad guy. It's this whole like brothers feuding thing while trying to keep the family business afloat. And it was actually a surprisingly well done show that I really, really liked. Well, Alexander Ludwig played the dickish brother in that. And yeah, that role alone kind of sells me. One, the facial hair. Two, the kind of arrogant playboy persona that Oliver has to put on. And also the hard-headedness of Oliver Queen. Yeah, I get it. But then you got stuff like the new Bad Boys movie. He's in that as well. And he's kind of got more of the, not confident, but the dude bro energy that's kind of required for Oliver. Not necessarily a bad thing, but the cocky, over-the-top action hero vibe. He's done that genre as well. I think Alexander Ludwig is an untapped goldmine for Green Arrow. I think he's got a lot of charm, personality. He's young enough to carry that role for a while if you want to continue down that road of having him be that character for a while and even introduce like the kids of Green Arrow, because that's an important part of the character that I really want in this DC universe. I want to see his relationship with Black Canary. I want to see his kids. I want to see Speedy. I want to see the whole Green Arrow family, not just the Bat family. That gets all the love and attention. Give me the Green Arrow family as well. And I think Alexander Ludwig has so many interesting things that he can bring to the table. He's done the comedy, he's done the silly, but he's done the more serious stuff. Plus, he just looks perfect. Like, dude looks like he fell out of a comic book almost. That's just my thoughts, theories. What do you guys think? What are the 7 names, or what are some names that you would really hope to see as Green Arrow in this new DC universe? Plus, when do you think we could even reasonably see Green Arrow at some point in this new DC universe? Do you think we're getting him sooner? Do you think we're getting him later? Whatever your thoughts, let me know down in the comments below, as I hear from you guys. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.